I like going hunting, just me, my hound, and my gun. Chasing them deer, rabbit, and squirrel, now that's my kind of fun. I like going fishing too, I'll go on any whim, looking for the big bass, the crappie, and the brim. Give me a wide open field to walk through. Give me an ocean so deep.
Well, folks, Al Homes from Montgomery and myself just got back from Southwest Africa on the grandest hunting trip we've ever been on. We was there among the bushmen of Africa who shoot the poison spears and the best trackers in the world there. And we got us some ostrich eggs, didn't we, Al?
Sure did.
And we're going to come into the show here and show y'all some of the hunting we had in Southwest Africa of all the types of game that they have down there, and show you how the bushmen actually track these animals down there, the game management they have down there, and the great and wonderful place of Southwest Africa with the Brendenkopfs down in that great country. Well, Al, you know, as soon as we got down there, first thing it did, it loaded us up in that Land Rover, and we took off to hunt. We didn't even have time to hardly get our bags set in the floor. And this is Franz Brendenkopf, and what's our tracker's name now?
Antoine.
Antoine.
Antoine, he's the best tracker. Of course, I've never seen many trackers, but I'll say this. If he was lived here in Alabama and he tracked white-tailed deer, there'd never be one to get away.
That beat anything I've ever seen. We're going to show some more about Antoine a little later, show just how good he was. And over there, it's a lot of plains and everything, and you just move along in that Land Rover hunting the game. Now, what we got here, Al?
Right there, we got Pet Warthog. That's baby Pet Warthog, baby. That's her name. That belongs to Franz. And if you notice that you don't see any grass over there, I was awarded the Snapper Lawnmower franchise for Southwest Africa.
You went broke, didn't you?
Went broke.
Well, now, let's tell them about this little warthog. Every morning we'd come up, and he'd work out the ashes out of there and be laid down in that good warm place there.
Right. It was real cold over there in the mornings. Sometimes.
A lot of folks think Africa's hot, but it was 30-something degrees that first morning, wasn't it, Al?
It was very cold, and there's a little baby right there. She's backed up against there like you would a fireplace.
You know, the strange thing about the warthog is that they'd get out there and play with them dogs. I never seen anything like that. And this was number 2 here, Al. I think this one just popped up out there, and Franz says, take him. And when they say take him, they mean now, don't they?
Get him right now. You can't wait because they gone.
We want to show them this on this particular one. They are some of the best game managers I ever seen. I believe it's probably more game in Africa now than when Columbus landed in America. These people over there know what's on their land, and they manage it. They keep the herds up. And the state over there will not let you bring out a trophy unless it is a full-grown, mature male, because they don't want to be known as you know, taking trophies that are inferior.
That's right. This one here was needed to be called out of the herd, and he had a tremendous set of horns, and they had about 10 hunters try to get this one to take him out of the herd. Well, very fortunate we got this one right here, and then we found out why. He was a little smaller than the rest of them, but his horns were so much bigger than the rest of them.
He just punctured and made all kind of festered places and everything.
Right there, Archie. Now, this is when people think that you can go to Africa and shoot a big animal. This is where you shoot them. They're usually anywhere from 250 to 500-600 yards out.
I remember that shot you made. It was over 1,000 yards at that hartebeest out there. We were shooting 30-06s. And I mean some long shots out there.
You aren't kidding.
The termites eat everything, don't they?
Termites eating those fence posts up there, aren't they?
They sure are doing a number on it there.
Now, Archie, that's that big oryx you got that morning on the run.
Boy, that is a big critter too.
Weighed about 500-600 pounds, and I believe it. He was running full force, and I have to hand it to you. You put a good shot on that boy.
We just ambushed him out. He jumped out before we knew what happened, you know. And they let the window down on these Land Rovers, so you can just.
Yeah, there it is. It's down right there, and the top's down, and everything is down.
Another thing we need to tell them about this Land Rover hunting, Al. We got to get up above the grass or you never would see anything.
That's right, You
got to be
up.
In the bush part of the country, which we'll show here in a minute, if you got out there and they just set you out, everything looks alike, and you would be lost so quick. No water, just absolutely no water there except in the water holes. What you got here, Al?
I got a jackal there. That's an animal that's a little bit larger than a fox, and it's a predator, and it thrives on their sheep and goats. And they like to take those out. That's a real nuisance animal.
What we got here now?
That's Quinty. That's Miss Brendencombe. She was the boss lady of the house. She
ever
was
ate any
our
better
cook.
food than what she cooked,
Oh,
eh?
she can cook now. She's showing you some grits right there, which they don't feed but to anyone except the dogs.
That's right. And she won't know. I seen them things, you know. She says, I said, what is that stuff? She called it mealy pop.
Mealy pop.
I said, well, what is it? She said, well, I think Franz told her something like we got here in the South called grits.
Right.
I said, would you mind fixing me some? She said, you want some mealy pop? I said, yep, I sure do. So we had mealy pop in the mornings, didn't we?
Right. And one thing about it, she said one morning that she had never seen anybody mix eggs with grits. But we showed them how to do it,
Oh,
didn't
yeah, that's standard procedure. That was the lodge we stayed at, and
That's their home.
their home, and the roads, everything is straight as air generally, and lots of dirt roads and animals everywhere. Al, what is that crossing?
That's
up
an
there?
oryx crossing the road up there, crossing the highway. Now, that's a highway.
Yeah.
And there you are, Archie, with your springbuck. That was a record book springbuck you got there.
And there are a lot of these. This would be, they're littler than our white-tailed deer, but there's plenty of them there.
Mm-hmm. Here we are at Rico Van Ruyen's taxidermy studio in Roslyn, South Africa. We were hunting in Southwest Africa, but this is South Africa. We had a day to kill, so Archie and I went to this man's nice taxidermy studio.
And this is what I love to see out there in the middle of the wilderness, these great big old things that you normally just, you know, see in a zoo as
That's
your
right.
giraffes eating out of the tops. And
they're larger than they are in the zoos, too.
boy, I tell you, it's kind of scary. Al, you want to tell them about how they train them dogs to keep up with them sheep?
All right, when they have a dog has puppies, they take 2 or 3 puppies off the dog and they put them on a sheep, and they're raised with the sheep. So the dogs
Before their eyes come open, right?
Yeah, they actually think they're sheep. So when the sheep go out every day to graze, the dogs go with them, and of course they keep the predators away. They see something come, they bark, and the sheep herd up, and the dogs actually live with the sheep.
And they actually defend the
Right.
sheep. I want to tell them this now. A lot of people have been led to believe that the cheetah and some of these cats over there are endangered and all, but they sure are a lot of sheep. I mean, a lot of cheetahs in that country.
Yeah,
aren't
they're not endangered over there. They manage them too well.
This big fence here is some of the greatest. This thing may run for miles and miles and miles, and what they do,
It goes around 60,000 acres.
that's a lot of acres. That's more acres than we could hunt on. And the purpose of this is when they got one species that they're trying to raise the population of the herd, they put them back here, and they try to keep the jackals and the cheetahs away from them until they build their numbers. And
Right.
the Brendencombe have done a superb job of one of the finest game management groups I've ever seen in the world.
They really do good. This is one of the dry lakes. There's no water over there this time of the year. We were over there, and this is a dry lake.
We saw river bottoms, but we didn't see any rivers there.
There you are, Archie, that's that nice big hartebeest you got, you and Antoine.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing, when I shot that thing the first time, he took off in that Land Rover, and we must have been doing 70 miles an hour, and these ants dig holes out there in the ground, and it's like one of them John Wayne movies. I mean, it was every bit as exciting. I looked up, and I saw your bottom above the windshield, laying over a pile over in the driver's side. And I thought to myself, if it's 2 weeks, it's going to be this wild. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stand much of it.
Can't handle much of that,
No.
I promise you. That's a beautiful giraffe at a water hole. Now,
Yeah.
it's against the law to kill giraffes.
Yeah, in other words, these are real beautiful animals, and you can actually come up to these water holes and observe them drinking there.
Won't you back that up just 1 minute there, Archie, and show them that this particular giraffe only had 1 horn. Giraffes have 2 horns. This one only had 1. It had been broke off in a fight.
Well, I'll be. And these briars here, this cactus, around their houses just have gobs of them like this, and the koodoos is what eat those in there.
Yeah, you can see where the koodoos have eat those.
Come
up
right
and
in there in the middle of the night and just sit there and just eat that stuff up.
There's your man there, Archie.
There's my zebra, and this one was out there 250, 300 yards.
No, he was more closer to 500 yards, Archie.
And they look big right there, but when you're trying to put a scope on one out there as far away as this zebra was, and of course our tracker would tell us when we hit him. A lot of times I couldn't tell when I did. And you played John Wayne on this one too, didn't you? I shot his horn off.
I shot his horn off on that one. There you are with that big hartebeest.
And now, what is this other contraption we got there?
Archie, that's very unique. That's their hot water tank there. How they heat their hot water, they burn wood in a wood stove there, and the water goes in at the bottom, and hot water rises and goes over and fills up their tank, and they have hot water all the time. It's very inexpensive.
I got to use a lot of wood for that kind of stuff over there, don't you?
You sure do.
Well, listen, we're going to be back in just a minute with some more hunting in Southwest Africa. Al, I was up in a stand above this water hole that had a diesel pumping water out there for these animals, and this was the same stand you was in, and I looked out across that little old scrubs, and I saw this head coming, and I said, I ain't believing this, and this big old giraffe walked right up to me, and time he got where I was at, you can see the bottom of the little shooting house I was in. He was up there eyeball to eyeball with me. And what have you got right here,
I've
Al?
got a duiker. That's the most elusive animal I've ever tried to hunt in my life, was that little duiker. Would you believe I shot at that booger 10 times? I hit him twice.
And that's the one that your law of average on your bullets got up with you.
Yeah, it caught him there.
And now we want to talk about, this is Jim Brendenkoff's house, and he is right up near the Etosha management area, and you see these big old fences around there. A lot of folks wonder what that's for. But they got gobs of elephants, and they got fences out there. It must be 500 square miles up there.
Right. 500,000 acres.
500,000 acres. And those elephants, when they decide to walk through your yard, they just walk right on through.
They come on down.
He told me one of the things they enjoyed doing most was taking a windmill and thumping it upside down.
Right.
Can you imagine that? And
there's Jimmy there with a warthog that was taken on his place. That will probably be either number 1 or 2 in the record book.
That is a big warthog. And let's see, Al, there's your second harder beast there. Now this is something, I reached up in a tree. These little things was up there, and I didn't know what they were. Nobody around it did. And I reached up and grabbed that thing, and it had some little old prickly things that just got all in my hand.
That's the stand you were in when you took the picture of the giraffe.
Yeah, now this water there, they fill that thing up, and they got a thing that flows out there, and the cattle drink, and I guess every critter in 10 miles, that's the only place you're going to get a drink of water, isn't it?
Sure do. That's hyena's head there that was taken on Jimmy's Brendenkoff's place. He was killing the cows, and they had to take him.
I meant to tell them this, too. These big leopards and lions come in there, and they teach their young how to kill by practicing on those high-priced cattle over there.
I don't know what you did there, Archie, but that's my head. I must be fixing to shoot a harder beast or something.
Yeah, just an all out in there. I just wanted the folks to see that all them critters out there.
Ah, that's good right there. Tell them what that is. Right?
Well, every telephone pole or any utility pole in Africa that's anywhere near these management areas, they take big old rocks with sharp edges and put around the poles because the elephants come up, grab the poles and tump them upside down.
That's a beautiful.
Isn't that a beautiful sight of the water hole?
That's a water hole there. Look at those big kudu there.
Yeah, that's some trophy kudu and springbuck here. I think we've took several of these. Now this was this your warthog here that you got out?
No, that's the one that from the water hole you took that.
He's up there drinking out of that water spigot. We're hid up in top of that tree, and that's what they do. They come to drink. And what we got here, Al?
We got, this is our transportation over there. Only 2 mules are doing the pulling. The other one's a spare.
Spare mule.
They swap them every now and then. That's you, Archie, just looking out there, just see how far you can see.
And that, if you look across my back there, I must be able to see 20 miles across there in every direction.
That's another picture at the water hole. Now this is a homemade water hole. This is where they have a diesel pump pumping water. And the cows come in, all the animals come in.
Birds by the millions I never seen. Look at the birds coming up there now.
Those are guineas.
Well, let's see, Al.
Aren't those guineas there?
No, that's
that's
I don't forgot the name. They're kind of a gray bird, bigger than a quail though.
Yeah.
And there we're back to baby laying in the ashes.
It was cold that morning.
Hey,
there I am right there. That's me with my Steinbuck.
And that's about as big as they ever get to.
Yeah, that was a big boy there. There's Franz. He's our whole
world's greatest driver. And an excellent guide. We need to tell him this about Franz. I think he'd shot 87 elephants over there and working in that management area, and several thousand. What happens is you can't hunt in the management area, so by not hunting, they overpopulate, and they have to go in there and shoot off 2,000 or 3,000 at a time to keep them from starving out because of overpopulation. So hunting is a way of controlling overpopulation. So you're either going to let the hunter do it, or you're going to have to pay somebody to do it.
And they might add something else about hunting. 2 hunters such as you and I, with the money that we spend in Southwest Africa, will take care of 60 of the native people there.
In other words, the spinoff for everybody that gets involved with a hunter will keep 60 people employed. This is the watermelons, real bitter ones that the bushmen have. they eat off of when there's no water at all, and they are quite bitter.
That's right there is where we were standing there where a cheetah had killed an ostrich, and we were just picking up some spare feathers.
I want to tell them this about that old ostrich. I found his carcass out there, and I believe I've got a picture. There's his carcass of the ostrich where the buzzards and the cheetah got what he wanted, and then the buzzards got it. And incidentally, I found a warthog tooth. They'll eat anything that's shiny on the ground there.
These are some of the natives cleaning the skulls of the animals that we had taken. There's a
these are all bushmen too.
These are all bushmen.
And most of them are excellent trackers. This is Jim's place up there where the elephant walked through the fence up there. We want to show them these elephants. And there they are. They were shot right in his front yard.
Yeah, they had to be taken because they were rogue and they were destroying all their land and their home and everything else, and they had to be taken.
I want to tell them this. A lot of times the female in the herd picks the bull that's going to stay with her, and the males that are not brought into the herd, they call them bachelor bulls, and they get out there and they just start roaming around the country tearing up everything.
They're frustrated and they just go crazy and they just tear up everything.
And they came right in his front yard. I'd hate to be asleep at night knowing them things could just wander through the house.
That's right.
And sometimes they just start tearing up everything. This is Jim Brendenkoff here.
Yeah, that's Jim. He's
got a big farm up there too.
Yeah, he has. And that's some fine looking elephants there.
Ain't those big?
And what happened when he shot one, the other one charged and he shot him and he fell on the other one.
And I want to say this, none of this meat over there is destroyed. The animals that we shot were carried to a modern slaughterhouse, and all of the meat was sold and it's shipped overseas to Europe, and it provides income for all those people there, including the people at the packing house.
And a lot of that meat's given to the natives that can't afford to buy it, and it's nothing wasted. None of it's wasted at all.
Every bit of it. They even make bracelets out of the tails of these elephants. And this is a water hole the elephants come in on. There you see a whole herd of them in there.
Those are all males there, frustrated males.
They're bachelors. They want to tell them about this concrete place there, Al. They had a spring there, the only spring in this watering place, and they'd get in there stomping around. They stopped the spring up and dried it up, and the government had to come in and clean it up and put a concrete thing over it to keep them from stomping their own water where they'd go hungry.
That's where they the elephants tear the trees up right there.
Looked to me like they just get out there and just enjoy just smacking those trees down, don't they?
That's some good meat right there from an oryx.
Yeah, now this right here, we're showing how they make jerky. You can make wild jerky out there in 5 days. That's how dry the area is. They just cut it off right there, make them a slice of it, and thin it down like that. I put a little salt and pepper on them, and then they just take them and season them and hang them by the little wires there, and they put them up in the top of the smokehouse there, and they're not really a smokehouse, just an air house.
Right.
And this is the way they fix the meat. It has so little fat in it that they put little frozen pieces of beef fat and garlic in there, and
sometimes they put bacon in there.
And they cooked that for us that night, and it was outstanding. I'm telling you, it was good.
There's where we take the meat to one of those processors over there.
And so all of that is taken and used. Now this is
that's Gilly.
Uh-huh.
That's Franz's dad. He's the owner of the ranch we were hunting on. Archie, that's your jackal right there.
And you don't tell them this, these shots were shot with telephoto. We didn't get right up on them like that. He was out there a good little ways, and we tried to use telephoto as much as possible.
Antoine there is showing a track where we tracked a small steinbug. There's thousands of them. Right there he's showing some blood on the tip of a piece of grass that I'm going to be honest with you, I don't believe a human eye can see it, but those bushmen can find it.
Al, he tracked with me. I was behind him for 3.5 hours, and he looked down in this red clay, picked up something about the size of a number 8 pellet.
That's right.
Took his finger and mashed it together, and there was blood on it there.
That's right.
He'd come to an intersection with 200 or 300 animals across, and he memorizes the track and move right on in there across it.
Hey, there's a warthog there. Now, that's a warthog.
Now, that looks like a defective warthog to me. What's the problem there?
There's no problem. I'm so proud of that warthog. That's the largest warthog ever taken off their ranch, but he does have one side of his tusk broken off.
He's battle scars, isn't it?
And no tail.
We done seen that slide. That's where I shot that other one. I want to show him some good eating.
Boy, that's some good eating. That's Quinty and Gilly. They were our host. That's Mr. and Miss Brendan come.
And I'm telling you, you go hungry when you go over there, because you're going to eat all you can just about walk away with.
That snake right there reminds me of BC in the comic strip, because he was he was really beat. That's a spitting cobra.
And this was, that evening, was killed right out in these folks' front yard.
That's right.
And a lot of snakes there too.
That's some beautiful
Isn't that beautiful, those giraffes on the water there?
Tell them about that, Archie.
I shot so much out there, I blowed the side of my gun out shooting those 30-06s at those animals there. And I believe you did a little shooting.
I did a little shooting too. That's just starting a big, big bruise.
I never shot as much in all my life. And there's my warthog. I got him coming around that bunch of bushes right there.
Yeah, sure.
He wasn't as large as yours, but it just tickled me to death. I'd be glad to get that old warthog.
As an African sunset, it's about the prettiest thing you ever see in your life.
And when that sun goes down, it drops, but it's just most outstanding place I've ever been, with the beauty and all the animals, and you're just kind of in harmony with nature there.
That's right.
We're going to be back in just a minute and show y'all some poison darts and spears from the bushmen of Africa. Al, did you enjoy that hunting trip as much as I did?
I think it's the most fabulous hunt I've ever been on in my life, and I just hope that people watching this show get to enjoy it like we did.
Well, you know, anybody that's interested in going over, they can contact you down in Montgomery or myself here in Birmingham. It's the finest folks I've ever been around, and they feed you good, they tend to you good, and it's just, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. If they want to go, they better go now, because everything's down there in place, and it's great.
It's fantastic.
I like going hunting, just me, my hound, and my gun. Chasing them deer, rabbit, and squirrel, now that's my kind of fun. I like going fishing too, I'll go on any whim, looking for the big bass, the crappie, and the brim. Give me a wide open field to walk through. Give me an ocean so deep